the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week.
Hi there, and welcome to Business Story of the Week with Joshua Laurie. I'm his guest, Doron Yitzchak Discover, and here we will be discussing not just business and practical ideas, but also the human elements behind the business ideas that make them relatable, relevant, and inspiring.
Wow, and that is Doron Yitzchak. Ladies and gentlemen, I have never had a guest introduce me that way. I'm very, very happy for that one. And of course, he has introduced me. I am your host. My name is Joshua. In every episode, in every show, in every week, we ask you guys a question. And the question for this particular episode is, what is the hidden force within us that shapes our reality? And well, Duran is the perfect guy to answer that question. He's a perfect guest to answer that question for us today. Doron Yitzchak Discover is a mystic and expert in shadow work. Maybe the word mystic there needs to be unraveled a bit more, maybe a little more accurate word that he can provide us. He specializes in helping people break through unconscious blockages. He's the creator of Breakthrough Matrix Coaching and the Shadow Breakthrough Method, guiding clients to profound personal transformation. Over the past 8 years, Daron has worked with hundreds of clients worldwide, achieving a 99% success rate in his Shadow Breakthrough program, group program. And I'm just really excited to dive into this and have Daron tell us all his stories and insight. Daron, thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. Thank you.
It's quite the fantastic concept. Of course, this shadow work. We hear about it, we talk about it. In different contexts. But Daron, talk to us about a little bit about your background. Actually, let's start with that. We had a little talk about your family background before the show. My question to start off the show every time is, what was the young Daron like? What would the young Daron think about the concept of unconscious mind, shadow self, and all that you teach today?
Wow. What was a young Doron like? That is such a deep question. I think what I can say in retrospect is that on the good side, there was always a potential and um, a very good attitude,
Mhm.
a hard worker when it was relevant
Wow.
and when it meant something, like personally, um, um, arrogant, way too sure of himself.
Mhm.
And what would he say to this whole thing about shadow work? They're like, yeah, I'm sure that's interesting to someone.
To someone, but not you, not myself, not the young Daron. I feel like this question right here, when asking about like, what was a young version of me like? I find that some guests or some people that I ask this question to, they find it difficult to remember their young versions because I feel like the more profound changes that you go through, the harder is it to recognize your previous self, your past self, because I imagine, Duran, you've gone through a lot of profound changes, especially with your work in shadow self, unconscious mind, and all that. Talk to us a little bit about this journey and this transformation of this personal transformation of yours first, dealing with your shadow self.
Okay. So I just want to preface everything
Yes, please.
with the following question and answer. And the question is like, why should I even care about shadow work?
Why?
Anyone listening to this, like, why is this relevant for me?
Mhm.
Why should
Why
I
would the young
why should I
Why would the young Deron even start thinking of the shadow self, right?
Right. So I can get to that, but the reason,
Mm-hmm.
like for someone who's just tuned in and wants to listen to the rest of this information is arguably for those that are
Mm-hmm.
ready for it, the most important information that you're likely to hear in sort of the next chapter of your life, because it's not only, to use common language, is so transformative,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also what I found to be the missing link
Mm-hmm.
in self-development. It's what I call the dark side of self-development, and people don't want to go to the dark side because they want to listen to you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, rah rah rah,
Yeah.
see the light, be the light. But the truth be
Mm-hmm.
told is that if there's a voice inside your mind that's saying that you're not good enough, and everyone's telling you to fight with it, then you're creating inner conflict. So it
Yes.
can't be that the ultimate solution of how we're designed with this voice in the mind that's critical. That's just how we're
Mm-hmm.
designed. And if
Mm-hmm.
the advice that the people are giving is that you now need to fight with this voice in your mind, that cannot be the solution, the ultimate solution of how this whole system clicks into place and works, and how we're able to operate it like a proper tool and like a proper machine and like a proper mechanism of transformation,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
it can't be that the ultimate solution of this whole system is one that is born in conflict.
Of
It
course.
cannot be.
Of course.
There has to be this place of inner peace. And if there's inner peace, and that voice needs to be listened to. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
unless you know how to, all that voice has is shame.
Right.
And so nobody wants to sit in the shame. And so young Daron, just like anyone else, they're like, let me read this book. It makes me feel good. Let me
Okay.
read this author. He makes me feel good. Let me read that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. You have to go through all of that. You have to go through all of the normal self-development and the light side of self-development and all the conscious work in order to identify when it's time. It's a very humbling moment when that happens, is that all the books that I've read and all the courses that I've done and all the affirmations, and I know the whole secret by heart, and all of these things, law of attraction, yeah, da, 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 they
Mm-hmm.
work except for like where it really counts for me.
I see.
Except for
I see.
that one or two areas where it really counts for me, then whether it's money, relationships, health.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and again, someone has to go through the whole self-development 9 yards, so to speak, in
Mm-hmm.
order to find like, okay, the stuff is great, but where I really, when it really matters for me, like let's say my income, I just cannot get it to go past this needle or this income ceiling or whatever it
Yes.
is. And then at that point, the person has to come to this humbling realization that there's something in the unconscious mind,
Mm-hmm.
something that
Mm-hmm.
I'm powerless against because I don't have access to it.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so that's why it's important. That's why it's important. And that sort of like answers everything. Is that how I got into all of this is because I was that guy that had a money block. I was that guy that had amazing potential. I was that
Mm-hmm.
guy that was good at being a manager, good at leadership, and da, 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 and all of these things, and lots of potential and lots of everything. But
Mm-hmm.
then I just could not make money, and not sort of like I could make a little bit of money, so but it was tough. Like I could not make enough money to pay my own rent,
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, how? This is like a mystery. How is
Yes.
it possible? Like if I'm the employee of a company, I can be the best employee possible. Like it's great, but on my
Precisely.
own, can't even make money to pay rent.
That's it.
And there's lots of people like that. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be an income ceiling that's so low that it's like crippling or
Mm-hmm.
strangling, because that's what the money block feels like. It feels like a strangle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's lots of people that listen to this going like that man is speaking my life
That's
because
it.
I know it so well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so what I found, it took me a long time. It took me a long time. It took me over 3 years and a lot of suffering, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
humbling, because you got to reach, in order to like go into the unconscious mind, which is basically oblivia, you've got to listen to someone that knows your mind better than you, which
Mm-hmm.
is like, you got to really be like, I suppose the word is humble. You have to, what they say, empty your vessel. You've got to come with an empty cup in order to hear things that you don't want to hear. And
Yes.
sort of, so I reached that point in my own life. I got beaten by life.
Mm-hmm.
Dead end job, no money, no nothing. Just it was a very tough, very like depressive anxiety. And
Mm-hmm.
at some point, I made my way to beliefs. I
Beliefs.
made beliefs. At first, I was doing NLP, and I was like working with like just doing a lot of conscious work and states. NLP is a lot about states. Optimal state equals optimal performance, things like that.
Right.
But I found that the people coming back to me like 3, 4, 5, 6 months later with the same issues, like same life issues. I thought myself like, this is not sustainable. And then
Mm-hmm.
even within my own life, I was looking for the missing key, I was doing
Right.
everything.
Mhm.
Joshua, I had like read every single book there was to read. I had done like whatever there was out there. I had done everything. I knew all the things by heart. I did everything. I mean,
Mhm.
when I say everything, I'm talking like visualization,
Right.
affirmations,
Journaling.
theta, journaling, binaural beats. Journaling actually I never did, but I did lots
Oh.
of affirmations and other unconscious work.
Hmm.
Binaural beats, isochronic tones. I said
Meditation.
theta, meditation. You
Hmm.
name it. You name
Hmm.
it. You name it. And the only thing that worked was when I started working on beliefs and self-value. That was it. That was the only thing that worked. And then I got
Beliefs
really, really good at it. Yeah, beliefs and
and
self-value.
self-value.
Yeah, yeah.
Ron,
So,
this is very relatable, right? For a lot of people, they feel like, for me personally, that really hit home because when you say, like, I have potential, I know I can do something, I know I'm capable of a lot. For all the audience listeners out there, things must be clicking to them too right now. Like, yes, exactly, this is my life. I feel like I'm capable of more, but there's always a blockage, just an obstacle. What you're saying now is the only thing that helps is beliefs and self value. Please walk us through that, and why do you feel like it's the answer to most of our obstacles, internal
okay.
obstacles?
Yeah. So first of all, because beliefs are the building blocks or the wallpaper of a person's reality.
Hmm.
If you've got something going on in your life and you don't like it, you have to examine your beliefs. You have to like, and when I say beliefs, if something that you believe to be true, it doesn't have to be something that you concluded and decided you're going to believe this by yourself on purpose. In fact, the vast majority of our beliefs, positive beliefs, limiting beliefs, and negative core beliefs, and they're different, limiting beliefs and negative core beliefs. They all, the vast majority, they stem from childhood. The vast
Yes,
majority. So that means
yes.
that you created beliefs which are the wallpaper and the like the tiles, the bricks, the just the actual wallpaper. There's no other way to put it of your
Hmm.
reality.
Hmm.
And so if
Hmm.
something's not going right, you have to look at what is it you believe, whether it's about the world or about yourself. If it's about the world, it's a
Yes.
limiting belief. If it's about the self, then
Hmm.
it's a negative core belief. And negative core beliefs, I'm sorry to tell all the people in the spiritual community, like I'm not good enough, they don't go away. They have to be
They
integrated. You
integrate.
have to yes,
Interesting.
integrate 100%. 100% they have to be integrated because if I am not good enough, it doesn't mean that I'm not good enough everywhere. The voice is saying I'm not good enough, and all the books are saying, say I am good enough, like fight with the voice. But what
Hmm.
I found is that just like, see, I teach laws because laws is another word for truth. And
Yes.
like, in order to create the correct model of reality, that means a manual inside my mind of how does life work, how does this world work. In order to create a model of reality that's based on truth, that means that I have to create a model of reality that's based on universal laws
Yes.
and not my perception and my experience.
Hmm.
Right? So
Hmm.
if through
Interesting.
studying universal laws you get to understand there's certain illusions that come about because there are things that we perceive and there are things that we
Uh-huh.
cannot perceive. Those that we cannot perceive, we have to understand
I see.
so that our understanding supersedes the perception and that you're able to, first of all, remain calm where you otherwise
Right.
wouldn't, get
Uh-huh.
motivated where you would otherwise be deflated,
Right.
be happy where you would otherwise be sad. It
Hmm.
changes everything because you've got a different model of reality.
Right.
Now,
Duran, it
what happens?
sounds. Go ahead.
I just want to finish this one thing that I was saying is that if the voices are not good enough, then according to the universal laws, there's this law called polarity where it
Hmm.
governs positive and negative. So
Yes.
everything is dual. Everything is dual. We live in a world of
Everything.
duality, right?
Yes.
And so that means that if just like there's hot and cold on this thing called temperature,
Hmm.
that means that within this thing called me, there is this thing called I'm not good enough, which is just the negative polarity.
Yes.
And it is true. It is true there, and there, because I have proof. According to my perception. But then there's
Yes.
also the positive polarity, which is like I'm spectacular or phenomenal or awesome or epic in something somewhere in my life, there, and there. And the secret, if you want to call it that, is that they're both true at the same time. But I have this
Yes.
gravitation towards the light. I call it emotional photosynthesis, where I have this gravitation towards the light. And if I have a gravitation towards the light, I am good enough. I am good enough. I am good enough. That means
Mhm.
there's a gravitation, a natural by design, inbuilt gravitation away from the darkness. And in human terms, there's gravitation away from the darkness and towards the light. This is called denial.
Denial. Okay.
Denial. Denial. Yes.
Very
And that's why
interesting.
shadow work has to be facilitated, is because you cannot see your own shadow because there's this inbuilt denial. this gravitation towards the light.
Okay, so it really goes back to what you said. Like it's just duality, like light and dark, and you deny that there's this bad side of you. You keep denying that. You're really not going to get any real results out of that because that shadow part of you constantly exists. Um, it's an
Not
interesting
only, not
concept.
only, not only, not only does it exist, Joshua, not
Hmm.
only does it just exist, it continues to exist. The fact that it exists means it's a vibration within your own unconscious mind. The
Right,
universe is listening to your vibration and
right.
not to your thoughts or your story. Just the same way that
Ah,
you listen to a symphony, you go to a symphony orchestra and you're listening and you can hear with your ears, you can close your eyes and you can hear every single
fascinating.
instrument that is perfectly tuned. Yeah, and you could
Hmm.
just close your eyes and you could just hear the harmony. And the minute
Hmm.
that one string is out of tune on one instrument, your ear will pick it up. The same thing with the universe. It's listening, so to speak, and just to
Hmm.
find the right verb for people to understand how this works. It's
Right.
listening to your vibration. And a lot of your vibration in terms of suppressed emotions is in your body. That means that it's there, but you can't feel it. And the only way that, because it's been suppressed or repressed, the only way that you can have a clue that it's there is because this thing creates blockages and patterns in your life that
Hmm.
don't go away.
Right. Right. That is, first of all, Daron, you mentioned something about we perceive life through our own beliefs, right? Because these are built through our programmings as a child, how we were up, our upbringing. Um, of course, all of that is formed early on in our age, maybe around 6 to 8 years old. We start building these beliefs in our lives, so we see the world through this lens, through our beliefs, through our thoughts, our emotions. Go ahead,
No, I just want to
please.
be more accurate. We
Hmm.
don't see our life through our beliefs. That means that our paradigm
Hmm.
is not necessarily based on our beliefs. Okay. What happens
Okay.
is that our
Right.
beliefs will create our reality in an
Hmm.
objective and non-discerning way. So if you believe,
Yes.
if you got taught when you were, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5, that
Hmm.
money is hard to make,
Hmm. Hmm.
then that'll be a belief and you won't be aware of that.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
not so much that you perceive life through that.
Hmm.
You'll experience life through that, and you may have the most like for me, I had the most entrepreneurial paradigm, everything, and I was like great,
Hmm.
and I was motivated. But then when it actually came, my vibration, another word, vibration is luck. My luck
There you go.
seemed like something was like against me, and that was my
Okay.
own vibration, and my
Hmm.
vibration
Hmm.
emanates from my beliefs.
That's it. Okay, okay. So I want to connect that to the universal laws that you said, right? So my beliefs are my vibrations because these are how these dictate my actions. These dictate how I think, how I approach things. That's why
Sure.
I'm not breaking through them. Like you said, this is these are just things that you learn. These are just basically your programming as you grow old, and this is how you constantly operate in the world. But you said now that we have these beliefs, but there are also universal truth. Here are the universal laws. How do we now intersect both? Right? Because if there are universal laws that are constant, that not necessarily is going to go with our personal beliefs and how we operate. First off, how do we break down our own beliefs in order to sync that better to, say, the universal laws?
Excellent question.
Mm-hmm.
Like this. If you take the universal laws, the ones that I focus on are the 7 universal laws, the 7 hermetic principles. They're just laws that apply to nature. I'll just say them quickly. 3 of
Mm-hmm.
them you can't do anything about, and 4 of them you have you have a say in how they transpire. So the ones are called immutable, 3 immutable, and 4 the
Immutable.
mutable. The
Uh-huh.
3 immutable laws are the law of mentalism, everything happens of mind, the law of correspondence, as above, so below, and as within, so without. It's just this correspondence. That's just how it is. And
Mm-hmm.
vibration, everything vibrates. You can't do anything about that. Then the 4 that are mutable are the law of polarity, which governs positive and negative. It's one,
Yes.
not two, like the yin yang. The
Always.
law of gender, which governs interaction, also called the law of creation. It governs
Mm-hmm.
the interaction between the masculine principle and the feminine principle and how they
Okay.
create. So one gives, one receives, and it holds, and then something gets created. Then you've got the law of cause and effect, which is basically how things manifest, like the
Mm-hmm.
logistics of the universe. And then you've got the law of rhythm, which governs sort of like motion and waves, basically like in markets and in emotions and in weather and pendulum, everything comes to a place of balance with a corrective swing. So those are the 7 laws. So now the human being, take all of the 7 laws, put them together into like a lived experience, and then you have consciousness. You have what we're experiencing now. The thing
Yes.
is that we're subject to all of these laws. And one of the designs of the universe is that things gravitate towards the light. So
Yes.
if things gravitate towards the light, it means that there is a bias.
There's
Okay?
always a
If
bias.
things
We
grab,
always have a
there's
bias,
always,
especially.
there we
Yeah.
go. There's always going to be a bias. There's always going to be a bias.
Hmm.
Now, there
Hmm.
is a sense of balance here. If there's a
Okay.
gravitation towards the light, there's also a gravitation towards darkness, and that's what the Bible calls the evil inclination, which
That's it.
psychology has completely overlooked. It just happens to be that every single human being on the face of the planet has got a negative voice that influences
Yeah.
their decisions, their thinking, their relationship with themselves. And
Hmm.
this is like the number one battle. And there's like only one module that covers it in psychology, according to many psychologists, friends of mine. But in any case, it's sort of like the number one thing. So here's this balance: is that on the one hand, you've got this photosynthesis of things gravitating towards the light.
Yes.
That happens also inside, yeah. On the other
Hmm.
hand, inside we've got this gravitation towards the negativity, which the Bible
Yes.
calls the evil inclination, which causes me to be self-critical. So here you've
Yes.
got this balance in opposing forces. So I'm
Hmm.
saying you have to be, so in our subjective experience, we have this gravitation towards the light, and we've got this gravitation to be self-critical, and there's a bit of chaos or paradox, if you want to call it that.
Hmm.
But on the outside, the laws are objective. The laws are objective.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so when a person can try to understand themselves better according to objective laws, that means that if I believe that I am kind,
Yes.
then there has to be somewhere in my life that I'm selfish. The two in the law of polarity, they have to exist together,
They have to
right?
exist together.
They have to exist together, just like hot
Hmm.
and cold. There's no line where you can say this is where hot ends, this is where cold begins. This is where cold
Hmm.
ends, this is where hot begins. There's no line in the bank of like where rich begins and where poor ends. You know what I'm saying? There's no line.
Yes, of
Each
course.
one defines each other. There's no exact time where night becomes day or day becomes night. It's like one defines the other, and there's no.
All right. Fantastic. All right. Fantastic. And Daron, thank you so much again to all our audience and listeners out there. BreakthroughMatrix.com. Go find Daron. Go find his videos. And Daron, it's amazing. It's profound. This has been one of the best episodes I've ever had, hands down. Thank you so much for your time. To all our audience and listeners out there, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you for watching the episode, and we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.